Sayyid Hussein writes, what is the best time to work out for someone who is sedentary? You know, a very smart scientist once said that an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object in motion will remain in motion. And I think there's some continuation about unless something of equal or larger force hits it or something like that. But anyway, philosophy applies to behaviors of an individual. So when it comes to there's a couple of things that I want you to understand in terms of behavior. So working out is not the opposite of being sedentary, right? The opposite of sedentary is being active. Now, working out and being active, could you work out and be sedentary? Yes. Could you be active and not work out? Yes. Which one is healthier? That might be a better question to ask. And then if you ask me, then I will say the person who doesn't work out but is regularly active is healthier than the person who is sedentary and works out. So it's about lifestyle. You know, when I was working a regular 9 to 5, you know, kind of corporate-like setting in Washington, D.C., the first job that I had, it was very sedentary, sitting at a desk for the most part. And in fact, the thing that I would try to do is I didn't work out at the time because I had just transitioned. I didn't have I had not practiced martial arts even on my own for a couple of years. And at the same time, the new job that I had in DC they didn't have a gym in its location. So, however, the culture of Washington, D.C. is that it's one of the fittest cities in America. And so, I remember there was our controller, the financial controller, at the time, he was 64 years old, getting ready to retire. This guy, at least a couple times a week, would bike 19 miles from his home to work. And so he was like, hey, you should do it too. And so I was like, yeah, right. I started making small changes, right? Among the changes that I started doing was, hey, you know what? Why don't I make it a point to, when I get off at the metro, maybe get off one stop before my actual stop? Because my stop was literally under the office building that I worked in. So it was just literally get out of the train and walk right up into the office via the escalator and whatnot. So that, in order to, I guess, eliminate that, it was just like, all right, take either the stop before or the stop after so that you can get like a 15-minute walk in to work. So that's one. The next thing I started implementing was, you know, every now and then when I had the opportunity, especially for lunch, if I had already eaten lunch, then because we were on like, I think the 7th or 8th floor, to take the stairs up. And so like that part is, again, it's about different behaviors. My next job was at a different location. And at the time I had a colleague, younger colleague, also, again, the culture of DC, like, hey, you should bike to work. And then started walking me through the process of, you know, getting my first bike and whatnot. And so I've written about this in the past. I don't know if any of that stuff is still up there, but I explained this whole experience in the book that I'm writing. But the thing that started there was like, all right, you know what? There's a couple of things that are existing in this new location that would make exercising that much easier. One, the fact that this place of work, although it's like 20 miles from my home, I figured, you know, let me attempt biking it. So that was one thing. I had that novelty factor. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and bike. And so that was one. But the other thing I found out, and the reason I was willing to take on this activity of biking to work every once in a while, was because the office building had a gym in it, and those gyms, where that gym had showers. And so even if I wasn't going to work out, I can just go ahead and take a shower and change. The days that I wasn't going to bike, I can make it a point to either arrive early to work out, and then get to work, or the other way around, after work, I go to the gym, I work out, and then head on home. Because I knew the path of least resistance to making this behavioral change was the fact that it was a minor adjustment. So it's similar to the idea of like, if somebody might be obese or overweight, what kind of diet should they go on? In fact, they shouldn't go on a diet at all. And I don't mean this in any disrespectful way. In fact, what they should do is just stop finishing their food. Now, I don't mean they should throw it away. You can always save it to eat it later, but just don't finish the food. That's it. If you have a 10% reduction in caloric intake, that's going to equal to maybe a daily reduction of calories of about, maybe 200 calories, maybe 300 calories a day. That will equal out to maybe 3,000, 3,500 calories a week, which comes out to about a pound a week in reduction of weight or fat or muscle or fat together if you're not exercising. So these are all actual realities that, that's just a slight behavioral change where you're not eating you're not finishing your food. In terms of working out, it's a matter of what is it that you can do consistently. Oh my God, this breeze is beautiful. What is it that you can do consistently? A better way to answer this question might be along the lines of, I just chased him off the edge. Another thing that you might want to consider is, what is your, behavior type? A big part about being able to, create positive change is understanding what is your behavioral tendency. So if you were to imagine this scenario where you're in a small town in the middle of nowhere, America, 3 o'clock in the morning, you come to a stop sign. Are you the type of individual that would actually come to a full stop at the stop sign? Or maybe you're the kind of individual that checks to see if there's any traffic, and if there isn't, then you just go. You won't even stop. Or you're the type of person that wouldn't even care to check for traffic. You would just go anyway. And depending on your personality type, now I just showcased 3 possible behaviors. So in the first one, if you are the type of individual that will stop at the stoplight, most likely what it is that you're either the type of person that just needs a program to follow and they'll go ahead and execute, or if you have a curriculum to follow, you'll go ahead and do that, or you're the type of person that needs a program to follow, but you also need accountability, right? Because the person that would stop at the stop sign might be afraid that, maybe there's a police officer right around the corner. And so if I don't stop, then that cop is going to give me a ticket. And so maybe that's a reality that you, now if you're that kind of individual, then in the case of working out, when would be the best time to work out is the time that you set aside, right? Whatever your trainer or your coach that you hire, whenever they tell you to do it, then that would be the best time for you. It's about making the time that works for you in terms of consistency. On the other hand, you could be the type of individual when they come to that stop sign, they look to see if there's any traffic. If there isn't, you don't bother stopping. And so as a result, maybe the best time for you to work out, if you're that kind of person, would be to simply first understand why it is that you want to work out. Do you know the purpose behind it? And if so, that would be me right there. And a big part of being able to, the why, is more so performance related. A big part of my personal identity, because my dad put me in martial arts classes when I was in 3rd grade and kind of been in it since, the idea of me being out of shape causes me a lot of emotional pain. Like, I'm a martial artist that's fat, right? So for that reason, that identity kind of is there. That's kind of like my, I guess, the rebel tendency. But at the same time, it's this realization that I want to stay healthy, I want to stay fit, so that I can realize the identity that I perceive myself to be. So that's one way to go about it. Or you could be like, hey, you know what? The reason I want to be able to work out regularly, I want to be able to build strength, specifically strength in my legs and lower extremities. Why? Because you understand the study, there's several studies, in fact, that showcase what's the number one reason people, especially elders, are submitted and entered into senior living facilities. And the number one reason is because they're not able to perform basic life functions on their own. Among them is being able to get up and off the toilet, right? They have had so much atrophy in their legs and just in their muscles and their core that they're not able to perform these basic human functions, so they need senior living assistance to be able to do things like that. Now maybe you realize, hey, you know what, I don't want to be that person. And so as a result, you make it a commitment to, like, that's your why. But if you're like kind of like rebel, you want to be free, you want to have choices, what you might want to consider is just having the freedom and flexibility, right? So if you want freedom and flexibility, maybe you want to, part of being able to design your life is, hey, I live in an apartment complex that has a gym. At the same time, I have a membership at a 24-hour fitness, and maybe I also join some sort of team or sports club that, you know, people hold, where you can have friends and things like that, or a martial arts school or some sort of yoga studio or whatever, right? So you have all these options. You're not restricted, and they're all attached to the identity of who you are. Again, these are all different options for you. Again, depending on what kind of person you are. What is the best time to work out for somebody who is sedentary is the time that you set aside. That's the best time. So now the question is, what time will you set aside to work out? Right now, like for me, I'm a freelancer, right? And so I kind of have the flexibility to make my own schedule. Now, sometimes there's a lot of work, sometimes I'm able to spread work out. But like Ramadan is awesome for that, at least for me, because I know I love seeing the sun, right? And I like being able to move around. In fact, I don't even feel the fasting when I'm moving. Once the sweat is going, it's just like, my body's just like, forget it, just let's have fun. And so I know I'm at my best maybe like an hour after I've eaten. So I'll have suhoor at like, I don't know, whatever, before Fajr. And a couple hours after that, I'll go ahead and do whatever activity. Now, between suhoor and the physical activity, whether it's working out or simply just going for a walk or doing some mobility, recovery, massage stuff, regardless of what the activity is, I know there's that block of time that I've set for myself specifically during this month of Ramadan. And so, because that time is set, like, I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of showing up. And half the battle is just showing up, right? I remember seeing an elderly dude, pretty lean, pretty fit. He was at the gym at 24-hour fitness. And I asked him, hey, what's your secret? And he goes, it's just showing up. Literally, just showing up. And so he was just like, once you're here, he's like, well, he was saying, once I'm here, I just might as well work out. So that was, I guess that's his way of, tricking himself into doing the activity. So, making time. So for me, it's just like I have set the morning as a block, and I've also, because I joined a jiu-jitsu academy, a dojo, they also have set blocks of time in which I am expected to show up a certain amount of, and now a big part of that is like, that's a long-term goal, right? I would love to see myself, in terms of a couple things in regards to jiu-jitsu. Among them is, see myself graduate to a blue belt, Because some say 1 out of every 10 people that join a jiu-jitsu academy, they graduate to blue belt. For some places, it's like 1 out of 30. So the idea that I'm that one, right? I'm that top 10%. I'm that top, 5%. That's awesome, right? That's in addition to that, the possibility of participating in like a tournament or something like that, the competition factor. I'm a competitive individual, and so that kind of feeds further into the things that I enjoy doing. So as a result, that's what it would be. Like that is something that I would be able to do. It feeds into that. And coupled with the fact that, hey, eventually get my black belt. I don't know how long it'll be, but I'm thinking to myself, hey, imagine I'm 40 years old, 40 plus, right? So once I become 40 plus, like that is a major differentiator, maybe for my kids in the future, for other family members, and inspiration and motivation. It's like, yo, this dude is 40 plus and he just got his second black belt. How cool is that, right? So, like that's the idea that that kind of motivates me. It's not even about what other people say, but more so as being a role model, right? It's like, the saying that goes, if you can't find a role model, then be one. That's what I'm trying to do. So all of this leads into the behavior. Again, that feeds into my questioner identity, questioner behavior. So what is yours? And once you know yours, when is the time that you will set? That's for you to decide. I hope this particularly long vlog response on my walk while there's stuff rendering on the computer was of value to you. If so, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you soon.